Hello everyone, this is Stepan and welcome to Hanging Pawns. Round 3 of the candidates tournament is still underway, but one game finished early. Levon Aronian played white against the great Vladimir Kramnik. Aronian got a point from the first two rounds, drawing against Ding Liren and Mamediyarov, and perhaps he should have won the first game and lost the second one. And Kramnik has had a much better start than Levon. He beat Grishuk in round 1 magnificently and went on to draw against Karyakin yesterday in a slow, boring Berlin defense. His performance so far is amazing, considering he was chosen to play as the wildcard and that he's the eldest of all 8 candidates for the challenger to Magnus Carlsen, and he definitely surprised me and probably a lot more people. The game I'm about to show you is absolutely brilliant. Kramnik seems to be playing at the highest possible level, and he managed to employ his favorite Berlin defense once more. And in this game, it wasn't boring at all, not even for a single move. Levon was white, and he kicked off with one pawn to e4. We have e5 by Vladimir Kramnik, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5, the Roy Lopez or the Spanish game. And Kramnik, of course, plays knight to f6, the Berlin defense, which is sort of his trademark opening. He virtually introduced it to high-level and top-level chess in the World Championship against Kasparov in 2000, and before that the opening was not rarely played, but not that often played at the top level. One GM that played it often was, I think, Arthur Bisgeier in the 70s in the States. Aronian responded with d3. He doesn't go for the so-called Berlin endgame with castles, a variation in which the queens get exchanged off early, and the position is well known and analyzed. It finishes with black having doubled c-pawns and white playing to gain a passed pawn on the king side, and so on and so on. Anyway, Aronian doesn't go for that. He goes for a bit more challenging variation with d3. We have bishop to c5, developing the bishop to the most active square, and here bishop takes c6, d takes c6, doubling Kramnik's pawns, and he of course captures towards the center. Aronian castles, queen to e7, and h3. This is the first imprecision by Aronian. Much better was knight b to d2 or queen to e2, developing a piece, since knight to g4 is not such a strong threat, and development is much more important than stopping the pin Kramnik could have played with bishop to g4, so h3 is definitely a waste of time. And here Kramnik plays rook to g8, a move which is not technically accurate, or the most accurate move, but it's the best move on a human level. It exploits white's loss of tempo by playing h3 and prepares to punish him for that by advancing his pawns and attacking from the very start of the game, right off the opening phase. And it's not a subtle move at all. Aronian knows what's coming, and there's just nothing he can do about it. He plays king to h1, getting the king out of harm's way in advance, anticipating Kramnik's hyper-aggressive moves to come, and Kramnik immediately plays knight to h5, perhaps preparing to infiltrate on f4 and clearing the way for the f-pawn to be able to advance as well. Vladimir Kramnik is playing a Tal-like game, definitely. It resembles the games of Mikhail Tal, and I must say I'm both surprised and ecstatic about his performance thus far, and his games are by far the most exciting in the candidates so far, even though two of them were so-called boring Berlin defenses, this one and the game yesterday. But he plays the opening in style and knows it better than anyone, which he proved today by exploiting such a minute mistake as h3 by Aronian to start a menacing advance. Aronian here plays c3, preparing d4, a central pawn break, but perhaps it's a bit too slow in this position. All Kramnik's pieces, except for the rook on a8, seem to be ready to spring into action and swarm white's king, which, even though it's still surrounded by pawns and its own pieces, already looks a bit uncomfortable. And here Kramnik continues with g5, going all in, a super aggressive move and the absolute best in this position, not giving Aronian time to develop or start a plan of his own at all. Aronian is doing absolutely nothing but defending. A remarkable idea by Kramnik. And we have knight takes e5, grabbing a pawn, and if Kramnik had captured with queen takes e5, Aronian would have played d4, attacking both the bishop and the queen and gaining the piece back with a bit better and more comfortable position. but Vladimir just ignores it and plays g4, continuing the advance and not caring for a central pawn, which is of course completely unimportant in this position. And Kramnik already has the advantage, and a big advantage. It's not winning material-wise, but practically speaking, Aronian is already busted. His queenside is still completely undeveloped, and 4 of his pieces haven't moved yet at all. Here he replies with d4, attacking the bishop, and Kramnik once again plays the best move, bishop to d6, attacking the knight. g3, Aronian finally realizes that the position is getting super dangerous, and he tries to slow Kramnik down a bit. We have bishop takes e5, d takes e5, and queen takes e5, regaining the pawn. And here Aronian tries to relieve the pressure by trading queens. He plays queen to d4, and Kramnik of course declines. The side of on the attack and the side whose king is safer should never accept a trade of queens, no matter what the material situation is. Even if you're a few pieces up, if you have the initiative, it's much easier to keep it with more pieces on the board, especially the queen. And he retreats to e7. He plays queen to e7. And h4 by Aronian, trying to close down the king side, but it's too little too late now. We have c5, chasing the queen away by Kramnik. It retreats to c4, bishop e6, another tempo on the queen. And Aronian plays a check queen to b5, perhaps trying to win the b-pawn, but c6 saves it as the queen is defending it now. And in this position he should have retreated the queen to d3, staying close for the much needed defense next to his king. Instead he chose a terrible square, drawing the queen away from the action. He played queen to a4, which definitely increases Kramnik's advantage significantly, and he doesn't back down but pushes even harder. He plays the aggressive f5, trying to completely open up White's king, and Aronian once again tries to salvage the position by blocking Kramnik's advance. He plays bishop to g5. And now in this position, a brilliant move and the best one by far, in true style of Mikhail Tal, Kramnik sacks the exchange with rook to g5, not giving Aronian a chance to consolidate, and it's the best move by far in the position. We have h takes g5 and f4, and this is now completely over. The position is dead lost for White, and Aronian must have known that. Kramnik managed to use his well-known weapon, the Berlin defense, which Aronian must have prepared for, in such a fashion that no preparation in the world could save his opponent, and Aronian just stood no chance. He completely overran White, and all he has to do now is convert his superior position, and that's an easy task for him. Aronian tries queen to d1, bringing the queen back to the defense, rook to d8, attacking the queen, it retreats to c1, f takes g3, opening up the position, knight a3, finally starting to develop the queen side, but definitely much too late. Rook to d3, the best move once again, getting the rook in the middle of Aronian's position and preparing to deliver the final blow. Rook to d1, trying to exchange off some pieces, and here Kramnik plays the brilliancy of the candidates tournament so far. A move so beautiful that it should end up in chess books, in several chess books. His conception is magnificent, and the move he played finishes off White momentarily. Okay, the game lasted a few more moves, but Aronian must have known that it was over by this move. It's a bit hard to understand it, so I guess Aronian must have missed it, but I would like to see the look on his face when Kramnik held his hand over the bishop and played bishop to d5. White, of course, can't capture. I will show you what would have happened. But whatever else he plays, there is an inevitable mate coming in the next few moves. If Aronian had captured on d5 with e takes d5, the point is that now the e4 square is open to a check by the queen. So queen e4 check, king to g1, that's the only move, g takes f2 check, king takes f2, rook to g3, queen f4. Let's say this is the best try, even though it sacks the queen, but that's the only way to defend mate. Rook to g2 check, king f1, and queen e2 checkmate. And after bishop to d5, Aronian saw this variation, so he didn't take the bishop. He tried f3, but the move is just pitiful. We have g takes f3, e takes d5, now Aronian captures the insignificant bishop, queen to e2, infiltrating, rook e1, attacking the queen and pinning it to the king, so the queen can't mate on g2, but Kramnik just ignores that and finds the killer blow which finishes the game. g2 check. And here Aronian gave up. Let me just show you the mate in 4, which would have happened had Aronian not resigned. So let's say king to g1, f2 check, king h2, queening, rook takes, queening once again, king to h1, and rook h3, checkmate. So this game, I was absolutely speechless when I watched it, and Kramnik played at 3000 rating strength and made Aronian look like he was 1800 or worse, I don't know. Aronian stood absolutely no chance, didn't have a single idea of his own that he tried to develop, and just kept on defending from move 5 or 6. This is the best game of the tournament so far in my opinion, and it will definitely make Kramnik's future opponents be very, very afraid to face him. He's in top form, and it seems that his age hasn't affected him at all, and in fact he seems to be playing better than 20 years ago when he was world champion. With this win, he went to 2.5 out of 3 games, which is an unbelievable result in such a strong field. And what's even more amazing is that he's playing with absolutely no fear, as if the stakes were much lower, as if it were an open tournament, which is only about the money or something. I definitely can't wait for his game on Wednesday, and he will have the right pieces too, so he stands a chance to win again. And Aronian now has to recompose himself and stop the bleeding in the next round, and perhaps even a draw would satisfy him in this position, and it must be psychologically hard on him to get crushed in such a fashion. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed this brilliant victory directed by Vladimir Kramnik, and that you got something from the game. Stay tuned for more games from the candidates, as I will be covering all of them. Cheers everybody, bye!